everybody. My name is AJ. I'm your host today. Education seems to be a very controversial topic, but it depends on who you ask. Homeschooling is either this beautiful personalized path to learning tailored to the learner, or it means isolation, indoctrination, and control when done in a fundamentalist religious setting. Now, religious homeschooling is built around fear and authoritarianism. This information that is given to children is presented in a filtered way through all this biblical lens and is delivered in the name of God, which means questioning it is off the table. Then there's secular homeschooling, which is rooted in curiosity. It covers real science and it helps kids figure out how to think and not what to think. So if you think that religious education is great and that everybody should have a Christian education or whatever religion flavor you have, we will love to hear from you. You can dial 984-400-5656 or click the link in the description and the live chat if you want to call from the web because Critical Call is starting right now. Hey, two faces now. Cool.
Yeah,
All right. Two punk faces.
that's right.
What's up? How you doing, Brently? Good to
E-
see you.
Excellent. You too. How you doing?
Nice, nice. Pretty good. It's been a while since you've been on Skeptic Haven, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's been a good little minute.
yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, I'm glad to have you back on here.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
It was awesome. Love this new
yeah,
show too. It's
yeah.
great. So cool.
Right, yeah, me too. I love it. I blame Justin, the Canadian Justin. What else is
Oh
Justin
yeah,
gonna be, right? Uh,
Canadians.
it's all
Canada.
his fault that you see my face once a week now. So like everybody go yell at Justin. I always see people that yell at everybody. Yeah, that's my thing. Speaking of yelling, there was a lot of yelling going on before the show because all these little tech gremlins were chewing at the cables and wires and sound and stuff, and we couldn't get it worked out. So I really appreciate your patience and I appreciate the chat patience in waiting. We're almost 30 minutes late. So sorry about that. But here we are. Here we are after all. So for people that maybe are like new to the show or the channel, that don't know who you are, they should, but they don't. Where can they find you?
So, thank you so much for that. No, I'm Brently. I do a show called Punk Apostate, where I don't know, I mean, do all sorts of stuff. But for the most part, I watch through like fundamentalists, Christian YouTube, a lot of stuff that I used to believe, and I kind of just react to it, and somewhat of a science theater, mystery science theater 3000 kind of like way of just having fun with it and hanging out with chat. It's a good time.
That's cool. I've heard of that show and then I've never watched it. Everybody's like, it's really good. You should. I should check it out. I should
It's
check
pretty
it out.
fun.
If he says good, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty good. It is fun. I just
yeah.
watch old movies and stuff.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, I think it was Jim Barrows that was saying that it was like really funny, like sort of like laugh at things, sort of
Yeah,
programming.
yeah, they do a great job. It's like improv kind of too, because it's like messing with what you see on the screen and doing voices for them and stuff. I love that sort of thing.
That's cool. Reminder, and everybody in the chat, if you want to send super chats and support the channel to help, like keep off the gremlins of the wires and all that, like protection, privacy, wiring next to all the software and hardware and all that stuff. Keep the lights on, whatever it is, send some super chats and support Skeptic Haven. And so we can also keep all this stuff on. Like we don't get paid. Brentley and I don't get paid. We just show up and talk and shoot the shit and stuff. All right. So fun stuff. Fun stuff.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff. And if anybody wants to call about whether you are homeschooled and you think that your Christian homeschool education was great, or if you attended like a not public, a private religious institution and you thought it was great, then you can call us and defend why you think it was great. That would be awesome. So we would love to hear calls on that topic, because Brently was homeschooled as a kid, and I homeschooled my kid. And so we talked about this before. We'll cover this in a little bit later. But I would like to hear from you, Brently. Like, growing up homeschooled, what was your specific religion flavor?
Uh, I mean, I guess it developed a little bit over time, but it was just evangelical, but it was very hardcore fundamentalist, you know? And it also had a lot of influence from like the Satanic Panic and stuff like
Mm,
that. You, like we weren't allowed to watch Ghostbusters, the cartoon, not the movie, the cartoon we couldn't watch,
mm.
because you might be able to catch the cartoon ghosts, I guess, might come out of the screen or something. But so it was a lot of that. It was just, yeah, hardcore fundamentalists Christian. It was a Calvary Chapel was the church that we went to, but that's sort of like a non-denominational church, and it's not very consistent as far as like different Calvary chapels from different places and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's all
But
like
don't you know that the cartoon version is the gateway drug to the real thing? It
that's
will
what it
take
is.
you, because yeah, like if you watch the Ghostbuster cartoon, then like you get addicted, and then you want to go and do the real thing. You want to go and watch the real movie with the real people, and then you think you're in it.
Right. Then the real
Something like
ghosts do come out. Like, yeah, exactly.
that.
And
Something
giant
along those lines. Who knows?
giant marshmallow guy will come out of your screen. No, yeah.
That's funny.
Um,
So,
but
like,
yeah,
what would you say? Like an average school day, if you remember from your childhood, what did like an average school day look like for you?
so, well, I was homeschooled all through all the way from elementary, through high school. So, it kinda depended on where it was because it got to a certain point where my mom was like, "I don't know this stuff." So she hired, a tutor that I would, like, go over to her house, and it was, like, me and, like, 4 I think 4 other kids, and, we were kinda all over the place as far as, like, our ages and stuff. But, but it was all, like, hardcore religious fundamentalist schooling. Like it was all the science was like why science is all wrong, which is really odd for a subject to be why the subject is not right or whatever. Um and same thing with history. History was all like that we are a Christian nation and all that type of stuff. Um
Oh wow.
eh, so yeah, it was pretty much just like trying to bubble in us kids and like keep us thinking that the world is a certain kind of way, as long as they
Mhm.
can like run around and hide the world from the kids so they can't see it so they can lie to them about what reality's like so that they can feel more validated about their religion, I guess. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it does seem that way even today from what I see. Not just homeschooling, but also private religious institutions seem to have a very similar sort of idea on how to teach kids, just like, science is evil, and like everything you need to know is in the Bible. Anything you can't explain is a miracle or supernatural, and it's like, oh, gravity, who needs that? That's like God is picking up stuff with his finger or something.
Yeah, he's holding it down on the ground. It's actually God pushing everybody. I know it seems like we're being pulled, but it's not. It's God pushing. I know.
Yeah.
But science goes against everything they're told to do, right? Like science is all about like going, I don't know, let's figure it out, and then testing something, and then whatever the tests are, then that alters your conclusions, and it's like that is the opposite of faith, which is just believe what your parents say, and
Or else.
yeah, or else that's it. You're right, exactly. And if reality doesn't reflect that, well, then reality's wrong, or your interpretation of reality is what's not correct here. You must have been mistaken about that part. So it's yeah, it's opposite of
Yeah,
how you would think.
but I think that's what primes kids to turn into adults who don't question things. And the reason they don't want anybody to question anything is because if it doesn't match with the biblical doctrine, then they're gonna question whether even that God exists and whether the whole hierarchy that they built up even matters or it's like important. Uh, so it's so crazy to me because you also see people who are taught from childhood. I love these pseudoscientific uh, concepts like I don't know the firmament. The
Yep.
stars are hung from the sky. For I guess from the firmament will be also anyway. Uh,
Yeah,
whatever
I
that
remember
might
that.
be, or that the Earth has to be 6,000 years old, and that leads people to believe in pseudoscience in adulthood, like flat Earth, and that dinosaurs, no, either the devil planted those bones or they existed with Adam and Eve just 6,000 years ago. They're lying to you about the way oil is made, like, and you're like, uh, but oil is a process that takes millions of years. No, 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 that's not true. Like, you
Right.
can find it under that rock or some shit like that, and it's like, and there's no way that you can present facts to someone like that and have them actually analyze it and use critical thinking to come to a conclusion that isn't preset in whatever the book said, whatever the Bible book said, obviously, not any other books. Other books are bad. Other books are bad.
Right. Yeah, because it's all about believing the person and not the data. Like their whole thing is like, well, you're just listening to a scientist. I'm just listening to my pastor. Those two things are the same. And it's like they're not at all. Like, and we're not just listening to a scientist, which is like that's where they get it really twisted. Because it's not if there is a scientist and he's saying something that is not the consensus of scholarship for a particular field, then we don't listen to that scientist, even if he is a scientist. It's about the data,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah, that's true because there are many scientists who are biased. There was a scientist that was saying that vaccines cause autism, and then like his
Oh,
peers
yeah.
reviewed his stuff, and they were like, "No, look, this isn't." But then you still have people today who still believe that because well, but look, he was a scientist, so he
Yeah.
must be right because he's a scientist. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, like you have to look at peer review. You have to look at all of the things, the scientific process and the whole method, not process. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh goodness, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's
And
really hard to grasp. Yeah, sorry, what were you
it
gonna
is.
say?
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, and when once that happens, it's like the bullshit. I think it's called the bullshit asymmetry principle, or basically like debunking a lie. Like it's so easy to just say something that's wrong, but in order to like demonstrate to like that person and maybe other people that are watching the chat or whatever, that like to demonstrate that they're wrong, you got to do all this extra work. It's like it's an order of magnitude larger than it takes to produce it, or something like that, or the amount of effort it takes to debunk bullshit is an order of magnitude larger than it takes to produce it. That's what it is.
Oof. Yeah,
But it's
what is
true.
that? Yeah, what is that quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson? Oh God, I'm trying to remember that you can't reason with someone who didn't use reason to get to that position in the first place. It's something along those lines. But yeah, the
Yeah,
idea
yeah,
is like if somebody didn't think through whatever opinion or facts they think they're telling you, and then you can't use reason to reason them out of it because they don't know how to use reason in the first place.
right.
So
Yeah, reason doesn't matter to them. Like they don't that they and that was like a thing. I think that was something that was like a sort of the basis for like all like me coming out of this stuff a lot because I started to realize that just because I care about somebody doesn't make their conclusions about whatever it is that they believe more likely to be true because of my like my emotional state for them. But that's typically how a lot of us, especially homeschool, that's how we figured out if something is true or not, right? True or not. Because it was just like, hey, I love my mom, and she told me this thing is true, and so it's got to be true because I love my mom. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that she's a liar because I care about her. So it's this emotional kind of thing rather than like based on facts and data.
That's true. Yeah, that's something that I've seen in people who are religious. Like I have a family member who has been kind of very slowly coming out of religion. But when we first will start discussing it very respectfully, like we've always had very open lines of communication in that. Um, he will say he will not understand that his religion came from his family. Like he didn't choose his religion. It was just something that was sort of given to him, taught to him. And it doesn't really matter which sort of sect of Christianity you end up with as an adult. You were raised in Christianity, and therefore you're pretty much gonna grow up a Christian. It doesn't matter if you change different churches or sort of small step or oh, I like this one better or that one better or that one better. You're still a Christian. And the more we've talked about the topic a couple of days ago, we were talking about the war in Iran and all of that stuff, and it's like he kind of said it himself, like depending on what area you're raised in or like what country you were born in, then that's the religion that you're gonna hold. And I think it finally sort of like clicked for him. He doesn't call himself religious anymore. He says he still believes in a God, but not in organized religion, and doesn't call himself a Christian anymore. So I was like,
Hey, that's good. That's the first
that's a
step, right?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
I
That's
don't
awesome.
expect anybody to like take whatever label I think they might be, right? Because I don't really think he's an atheist because he still believes in some sort of God. But like if you care about other human beings and other human well-being, then maybe you're a humanist. And if you don't want to take that label either, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just uh, but yeah, like don't be stuck on that one religion just because your parents taught you it.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't mean that your parents were some terrible people that were like trying to indoctrinate you on purpose, because they were. It's the same thing. It's generational, right?
Yeah.
Generation, generation. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, they were probably taught that from their parents, and I would see that same kind of mentality, in my family too. Because, like, for instance, just recently, there was, like, this story where they were saying that, it was, like, an all-Muslim town or something in Texas, and they were saying that they were instituting Sharia law, and my mom and I were talking about that. I was like, "That's not true." I was like, "I just Texas? Really? Your critical thinking, like, doesn't just go off, your spider sense? Like, hold on, the Texas has a Sharia law community? Texas." But and she was like I was like, she was like, "Well, I don't know if that's true or whatever." And so I found an article that was AP, the Associated Press, which is very valid as far as I could tell. And I sent her the article saying that the Texas Department of Justice was saying that that's not true, that those claims that were made about Sharia law were not true. The Texas Department of Justice. So we're not talking about like liberals or whatever. Talking definitely
Yeah.
Republicans. And she
It's
was like, "Well, I don't know. I got to ask my uncle or my brother-in-law who lives there." And I'm like, why the hell would he, like, as long as he's like a bigot, then he's gonna think that it might be true. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, but because she has
it's
a relationship with him, that's my point. You know what I mean?
right, yeah, because we think that people who we are connected to by blood are not never gonna lie to us. But
Or be
it to the
wrong.
yeah.
Right?
But to the point of like people living here and still believing that is true, because the people that are saying that shit are Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott, all right, and they're like
Exactly.
banning Sharia law because there is a community who is a majority, majorly Muslim, and that's where they get this from. But you have other communities that are majorly Hispanic, right? The neighborhood that I live in is pretty majorly Hispanic. There's a couple of white people, and there's a couple of people of color, but majorly, I think I would say maybe like about 80 to 85% is Hispanics. There's communities that are mostly white. There's communities that are mostly people of color. There's communities that are whatever, right? And it doesn't mean that they're gonna take over the whole area. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a cultural thing, or like whatever attracts them to it, or family and friends decide to move in. I don't know exactly what the system would be, right? But it's like, just because that Muslim, I don't know if I don't even think it's an entire town. I think it's just like a community, literally sort of like a neighborhood type
Yeah.
situation. Is there doesn't mean that the entire fucking state is suddenly gonna be under Sharia law, or not even that
Right.
community. I don't think they do
Well,
Sharia law in the community.
well, and what the crazy thing was, what it ended up being was not even a actual community that existed. It was a community that was proposed to exist, like
Yes,
they were proposing it, and they didn't even get that far because they wanted a school that was like a Muslim school, right? And then they also wanted a like a community center, it's all just stuff, all the stuff that Christians have
basic.
all over the place, But when it's a Muslims, it's like they can't they can't have that, and it
I
wasn't even true.
know.
Oh,
It's like in like near downtown Houston, there's like so many freaking Catholic schools, and obviously they have, like in the area, it's gonna be it's gonna attract majorly Catholic, citizens, because they're gonna want to be in that district or whatever. Or, well, no, since it's a private school, they can just go wherever they are, and it doesn't matter if they're in the district. But like, people that are in the area
totally.
are generally gonna be most more Catholic than if you go to the outside and outside areas where it's mostly like public schools and stuff. Like where I live right here, I don't think there's any private religious schools for like at least 15, 20 minutes from where I am. So yeah, so but it's like, if we can have Catholic, Christian schools, why can't we have specifically Muslim schools? It doesn't
Right.
mean that anybody of other religions cannot attend, just like for Catholic schools, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be a Catholic to attend. You,
Right.
like, I don't know if Florida is doing the school vouchers thing.
Yeah. It's
uh,
frustrating. So
I
terrible. And
will
charter schools
figure.
too.
It
Awful.
seems like Florida goes first, then Tennessee, then Texas. It's like that's the
Yeah.
order, generally speaking. So I was like, I was pretty sure you had it. Uh,
Yeah. It's awful. They're
yeah,
just
it.
they're just taking money from the already basically broke school board that they keep on gutting every chance they get. And then basically just giving rich people that were already going to send their kid to a private school a discount. That's what it does. It doesn't. It's not like there's some family, poor family or whatever that's like, oh, I'm struggling. But I really need to go to this one private Christian school because like there's so many other aspects of it that you're gonna still have to have a specific amount of privilege to be able to get your kids there and shit to begin with because they don't do busing or anything like that, so or providing meals for and stuff like that. So yeah, it's absurd and just taking money
uh,
from school.
yes, terrible. Because like, if you think about it, even if you could offer it to lower income kids who are in different districts from those private schools, right? Like I say, in my area, if I were to want to put my kid in one of those private schools for whatever reason, let's say I wanted to put my kid in a Catholic school, the problem would be the transportation, because since it's not in the district, then you have to do the transportation yourself. And if you don't have that privilege, because let's say your husband is the only one that has a car, and takes it to work, and the time doesn't work for your kid's school, then you're kind of screwed, and you can't put your kid in those schools. So you're kind of stuck wherever you are. And the majority of the people in lower income neighborhoods really don't have that opportunity. They can't even pay for the private school with that. big $5,000 or whatever it is discount, right? You
Yeah,
can't afford
it's
it in the first place. So it's
right.
like it's so ridiculous. And then
It's
you have
yeah,
teachers buying supplies for the kids for the classrooms, right? Because they don't have
yeah,
money from the districts. But then, oh yeah, sure, let's take $5,000 for Timmy over there to go to Catholic school.
right. Yeah. Which and his family already has like, make six figures and whatnot. So it's like, just give them a discount because they deserve it. It's like, what the heck? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So with your with your homeschooling, were you able to attend like college or higher education, or
No,
did you
no.
attempt or not? Okay, all
No, I
right.
couldn't. Well, because I think, yeah, because we didn't. I don't think we had the because when I was
Um,
homeschooled, it was basically illegal. It was kind of like
oh,
the
okay.
precursor to like what we have now, where it is
Mm.
legal, but you have to have certain level of standards and things like that.
Yeah.
It's super loose, but there is some standards there now. But yeah, back then it was illegal basically. So I think because you couldn't put a specific high school or whatever, you couldn't get any scholarships or anything like that. So couldn't
Uh,
afford college.
that
I'd have to like
sucks.
pay for it all. Top to bottom.
Yeah, that's another shit that always pisses me off. The higher education, even like basic college, being so expensive and inaccessible for most people, right? But yeah, the good thing is that it's been updated now, the homeschool system, and like you said, yeah, it's still not great, and it's still pretty loose. It depends on the state. It's not
Right.
even uh federal sort of like standard. Like each state can set their different rules. I know a lot of them are pretty strict. Texas is not. So
Yeah, neither is
yeah,
Florida. It's cool. Yeah, we're I don't
yeah,
know.
they're kind of like, well, hey, as long as you teach math, science, social studies, reading, writing, then you're good. Um, and we do that.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that these days they have a lot more accredited programs that are online that are accredited with the state. And so they give you like sort of same level of what you will get in person, but you can do it at your own speed at home. Uh, that's
Oh,
sort of what we've been using. When I first started homeschooling, it was like 2020. It was more self-made, kind of
oh
like
yeah.
I was the teacher, but then I was like, well, this is a little bit out of my depth. I'm gonna have to learn Common Core math, and I don't math. So I was like, all right, let's find
Math is
something
tough.
better.
Right. Yeah. Having
Yeah,
some type of online curriculum would be nice, right?
yeah. So, but we do like secular. We've tried a couple that I did not like because they had a lot of Bible lessons in them, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to go that path. So
Wow.
I
So
look for the
even
ones that, yeah, even online, yeah,
really, that's
yeah.
wild because you can't even find that's the thing that's weird about it is like we need to start an atheist private school. That would be wonderful. Where we
Right.
we
The
teach
Satanist
atheism.
school.
That makes us
Grow,
you have
grow
to
some
sign a letter
Satanists.
that says gods aren't real.
Right, yeah, yeah, like yeah, an agreement to worship Satan, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Um,
but so what I like is that and you have a lot more options and you have some curriculums that are specifically secular, or you have like homeschool groups that you can attend where kids, socialize and do the things and meet other kids. I did accidentally go to a Mormon one once.
oh, really? Oh
And
my
it was
god.
bad.
I couldn't
So
imagine.
I know because I found it online, right? And it was like at a park down the street. And I had a neighbor that I didn't know her very well, but like I knew her kids from when my kid was in school, and we both had started homeschooling after COVID. And
Oh,
so
right,
she's like,
COVID, yeah.
yeah, right. So she's like, oh, let's go. And, but this was way after, like maybe 2022 or so. And she's like, hey, let's go and take our kids to the park because they have this group that meets like every week. And And so we go up there, and I walk in, and my kid goes out to play with all the other children who are a lot younger. But so I sit with the parents, and the first thing I noticed, it was like, okay, everybody's blonde here. All right.
That's her first sign right there. Too much
Okay.
blonde hair.
Do you have any, yeah, like brunettes? I was like, should I put my hat on or something?
Right.
Uh,
It's a requirement for Mormons. Can you bleach your hair or something? What are you even doing? Like,
yeah.
this is a
And,
Mormon place, dude.
and then it was the babies. All of them had babies. And I was
Yeah.
like, my kid was already like, maybe, I don't know, like 10 or something. And I was like, am I like supposed, did I miss the memo? Was I supposed to like get pregnant like last year or something? Did they do a pact?
It's once a year. Yeah, you have to
And
be
then, so I just sit there quietly and kind of like listening on what their conversations were. And that's when I was like, oh shit, it's a Mormon group.
oh god.
And I was, yeah. And then the ride home was pretty awkward,
Oh, I bet.
because my kid's non-binary, and like they were playing with all the other kids, and they were like sort of like, what are you, a boy or a girl? And my kid was like blah blah blah, and they were all like
Yeah. Still like my brain doesn't know what to do with that.
devil. So, yeah. So the lady asked me, I'm lucky because the drive home was only like 3 minutes. And then she starts grilling me about it. She's like, so it was brought up to me that your son or something. She said something like that. Like she picks whatever
She
gender she thought the kid was, right?
she's like,
And
"I can tell. Alright, I know."
yeah, yeah. And this and that, and like what are they? And and then we were almost home, and I kind of just like sort of like derailed the conversation in a different path, and just like, oh, I'll see you next time, and then I never saw him again.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, we did a co-op too because we called it a co-op. It was at the church though, and it was basically like, every Friday or something like that, and it was like so that the homeschool parents could, like, take a day off and go, to the spa or whatever, they just need a day off, right? And so it was like all these, people from the church would volunteer, and if they knew about something, they would teach a class in it. And it it was kind of funny because it was my first introduction to debate, and
Oh,
and I remember being so confused because like the one we were doing like the gun debate, and they were like, okay, now you got to flip positions. You got to because I was able to argue for like, oh no, I know why we should have guns because that's all I had ever heard. And I remember they were like, okay, now you got to argue from the other position. I was just like, I don't
how?
know any of those talking point. I don't know. You know? But it was just kind of but it was stuff like that, you know? It wasn't I wouldn't say it was real. It felt very like when you go to work, and you're like, "We got a training," and it's just like, real easy, nothing. They tell you the answers basically, as you're, going through it and all that. It was very much like that.
I was gonna say it kind of sounds like the way they put ice in the TSA lines out there.
Oh my god,
Just
that's so
drop them
bad.
in there.
Yeah, it's all the same, man. It's, TSA, they don't have any training or anything, right? They just drop people that know nothing into TS. No, they have training for all those people. It's like a lot of training too. Jesus. So funny.
Jesus, yeah. Are they doing that in Florida too?
I don't know. I guarantee they will soon if they
Okay.
haven't already. But I'm not
Okay.
really sure. But
Okay. They did here in Houston. My husband went. He covers the news, and so he went up to the airport a couple days ago, when they first started it, and recorded some of it. And they're just like standing there. They're
yeah,
standing there
they're
doing
standing
nothing.
around, right? Just
It's like,
looking for people not speaking English or whatever. Jeez.
yeah, probably. That's what I imagine. That's what I imagine. So,
Yeah.
question.
Mhm.
When you and I first started talking about homeschooling and stuff. That was like a year ago, I think, maybe over a year ago. And we were coming from like very different perspectives because you were coming from like how harmful that type of homeschooling can be, and I was like, hey, it's not always that bad. But I don't know. I guess I hadn't heard any firsthand experiences from other people. Like I was pretty shocked by what you'd share. Like, did you
Yeah.
change your sort of your perspective since then?
Yeah, well, yeah, I kinda had to, right? I mean, the way that they've basically they're screwing up education, the politicians, it seems like on purpose, but and so, yeah, like, 'cause here's my whole issue is when it comes to the schooling, right, and homeschooling. There's actually a really good John Oliver on this, but basically, you can do it amazing. Like you could be awesome at homeschooling, right? And so there, you can be as good as you can possibly be, but you can also be as bad as you can possibly be because there's no actual standards, right? So it leaves the door open for like extreme abuse because if
Yeah.
nobody's because a part of kids going to public school is for other eyes to be able to see those people's children so they can be like they have a place where they can go that isn't just completely walled in to a compound or something where nobody can ever look at them because that's how they can get away with abusing kids for just ever because the person that runs the HR would be the abuser too, right? So you can't. That's like, what are you going to go complain to the person that's abusing you? Um, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You're just stuck in like perpetual abuse for years and years and years. But so and it's tough because I'm like, well, then there should be some kind of like government check on that, right? But that could obviously go very badly,
I
especially with
know.
the government, that we got going on here. I don't even want to know what they would start to look for and everything, and be invasive, and then
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
really
it's
No,
tough,
I that's one of the things that also changed my mind as well because those were things that I hadn't, considered, and I was like, okay, no, that does make sense because as much as I don't like the way that the public school system is structured, I do agree that it is, and yeah, sure, we do see some instances of abuse at schools as well because like we can't prevent it 100% everywhere and all the places at all the times, right?
right?
But when you do have a system of reporting, it that safety for children does increase when they are sent to somewhere that, like you say, like they have teachers that care, they have classmates that care, and even if the classmates are seeing their teachers being abusive, then the classmates can be the ones that report it to a different sort of authority in the school, the principal or the nurse or whatever, right? Or the
Right,
lunch lady. It doesn't matter. Like there's many, yeah, there's like many different adults there that come from different perspectives, that is not just the two parents at home, you know and so
right,
that's a really
yeah,
important thing, and that's where I wish we could come to like a compromise, sort of improve the school system so that people don't feel forced to homeschool because the school system sucks. you
right.
know and say
I mean, it's tough now though because like I mean, the way that everything's kind of gone is like everybody there. It's like there's a war on truth and a war on like science and a war on everything. Um, so it's like just the fact that you can't get it's hard to explain, but like they would say like we need to have both sides of it. So if you're teaching about like I don't know the South or whatever, right, and like the Civil War, they would want you to be like, well, you got to, slavery was bad and everything. But then, well, hold on, we also got to teach the other side. And it's like, well, some people are nice to their slaves, and it's actually the war of northern aggression. Really, they were just, you know, uh, and so, but it's like, how do you, how do you teach if we have people that are more obsessed with uh, feeling valid about beliefs that are not true, so that they can, validate their bigotry and whatnot. When and those a lot of times are the people that are in power or have some kind of access to power, and they're using that to try to basically make it so that nobody can know what is true in any kind of reasonable way. I mean, I think you and I like know how to determine if what's true, but a lot of these people are just like, yeah, but you're just believing what this person says, or you're just being indoctrinated into not my religion, whatever. Like, and it's like, yeah, that's not how it works. But like, how are you going to explain that to a lot of these people? It's very difficult. So,
Yeah, it really is. Indoctrinating into not my religion. I like that. I like the way you put that.
but that, I mean,
Which
that's
is
like say you're indoctrinating them into the world, and it's like, what? I do live on
you're
the world. I don't know.
these atheists are indoctrinating you.
Yeah.
They're helping you learn how to think, not what to think. How dare they?
Right,
But
right. Well,
yeah,
and
I
they'll
like
say they're
that quote.
indoctrinating you into like atheism, right? But like, no, we're not. We're just not saying that any religion is true. But that doesn't mean we're also saying that they're all not true. They're just saying it's just not based in fact, right? Like it's based on faith. It's whatever you believe. Um, but if everybody's going to start fighting in school about like which faith is more correct than the other, it's like we're never ever going to get kids, to educate it at all, right?
Yeah. Okay. Quick reminder, everybody in the chat, you can send super chats, send questions if you like, and one of the producers or somebody will put it on the screen so we can read that. Or if you have any comments, sort of like anything you would like us to discuss regarding this topic. Let's see, phone numbers should be right there at the bottom. I see it scrolling, and then the link if you want to call from a computer. It should be super easy. It doesn't matter whether you're a theist or an atheist. If you want to talk about homeschooling, we're up for that conversation. And okay, yeah, I think that was what I was gonna say. Anyway, back to it. uh, one thing that's kind of bothers me about the school system is the public school system is that this is something that was created like probably about 200 years ago or so by Horace Mann, and he was an oil tycoon here in Texas. And what he wanted was workers, like day workers, right, manufacturers, to work in his facilities, who would just follow directions and do what they were told and know just the bare minimum and just the basics. And we still use that exact same system. It's never been adjusted for the ages, for the modern times and all that. Like, yeah, sure, we use computers and stuff, but it's the same thing. It's fitting everybody into this very same box, and with the very exact expectations. And if you don't do well, then well, you're a fucking dumb child, and like
Yeah.
how you're not never gonna be amount to anything. And that's the way my kid felt as a kid going to public school. Like they felt really dumb because they couldn't do math. And so when we started homeschooling, we took like a 6 month break from math, just math, to kind of like wash away the fear, the anxiety that math would
Yeah.
bring.
All that trauma that like this is
Yeah,
probably it
yeah,
is. So it is traumatizing a lot
it
of time.
really is. Yeah, because the way it was being like drilled into the brain that they couldn't, that they didn't get it, that that there was something wrong with them, and they were the problem, and not the way it was being taught. And
Right.
so when I started teaching it at home, I started teaching it in very, very different ways, to like a lot more hands-on and lots more sort of that type of thing. And they immediately were like, "Oh, cool, I get it now." Huh?
Right.
I
Well,
wasn't, I wasn't dumb.
no, right. Well, and that's a funny thing too. I think so often, a lot of times, because of people thinking that's it, because I don't even think that that's a thing. That people are like, "Oh, I'm just not a math person." I disagree. I don't think that's true. Your brain is a muscle. It's going to respond to whatever you work with. Now, some people might be more like naturally more inclined to it, but there are no people that are not math people. But if you believe that, guess what? You're not going to be a math person because you've already decided that you're not going to be a math person, and that keeps you from trying, you know.
That
Uh,
was me all through high school. That was me. I
really,
was like,
me
I
too.
just,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
I
thought that I
didn't.
was dumb for the longest time, and it was like I wouldn't even really try to learn stuff, because I was just like, "I can't do it, I don't know." I was
Yeah.
homeschooled, I don't know. But that was not true. I just was believing negative things about my abilities, and that it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, we do have a super chat. If you
Ah,
somebody would mind putting it on the screen so we can read it, that would be great. It's from Kali, the
hey,
Detroit
Kelly.
Atheist Queen. $10 from the Detroit Atheist Queen. Great host and conversation. The education system needs so many changes. So many children fall under the cracks. And it's so true. It's so true. Um, I know I keep going back to my kids' education, and it was so frustrating because once we were past that stage of like, hey, I wasn't learning because I wasn't being taught in a way that I could absorb the information, they started doing great. And you know uh, we focus a lot on interest-based learning, and even though interests change throughout their childhood, right? Like when they're 14 now, and when they were 12 they like planes, they really love planes, and so they learned everything there was about planes. Well, from like 11 to 12 they learned everything there was about planes, and we got them like those little plane simulators and stuff like that. And
Oh
then
yeah,
one day,
love
yeah,
those. So
one day
fun.
one of my friends who's a pilot was like, "Hey, I have a tiny little four-seater plane. Come ride it." And
Wow.
so they put my
Oh,
kid
that's
on the
cool.
front, and we're up in the air. And the pilot's like, "You know your shit." And he put my kid to control the plane. With 12 years old, flying the plane on his own. And I was like, sitting in the back, trying not to throw up, but
Yeah.
it was fun.
Oh,
But
that's
that's like,
awesome.
yeah, I know. Obviously, public schools, I'm not gonna expect them to do that type of thing,
They gotta
right?
take all the kids need to go flying. That's right. Every kid needs to fly in an airplane at some point during the year.
30 planes.
That'd be awesome. That's how we need to fund the education system where we can give plane rides and stuff. That'd be great.
Right? Yeah. Well, we're actually trying to. Well, we actually got a approval for a seat at a local. It's called early college program, high school, early college high school program, something like that. I
Hmm.
probably said it wrong. So what they do is like they go to the high school, which is inside the college, and they take college classes. And then when they graduate high school, they graduate with an associate's degree. They can pick
Oh,
associate of art or associate of science. Obviously, it's like a mine, like the lowest you can get, but you still get that sort of like experience of like, if you want to go to college, you already know what to expect because you already experienced it, throughout your high school, but in a more laid back setting, so you're still with sort of like your teachers and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
and they say it's really good to, like, get more information younger. So the fact that they can, because a lot of times, kids will be like, "I wanna get out of high school," and then take, like, 2 years and go, like, have fun, and then I'll go to college after that. And a lot of times that just extends the time later, and it's ultimately worse for them. But yeah, my brothers, both did that. They both had, I can't remember what they called it here. It's like dual enrollment or something like that. But yeah, and they
oh
got
yeah,
the
dual.
AS and BS or whatever. But yeah, that's super cool. I think that's an excellent way to do it, and have that little bit of pressure taken off of going into college. You got plenty of time. You already got a head start. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and also, because it's a high school and it's public, you don't pay for the college classes that they're taking. So it's like free
Right.
college, basically. And it's
That's
like a
awesome.
practice and lets them sort of get the feel of it and whether they want to continue or not. Because if you're gonna spend money on it, then at least hey, is it worth it or not? Like, do I want to do that? Do I want to put myself through it? So
Right.
if you had gone to college, what would you have wanted to study?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and I've been thinking about that because I'd actually like to go at least take some classes, but I was thinking of trying to maybe go in like a major direction, but it's so difficult for me. Well, A, because, fundamentalists, we're not great at deciding what we want. We're like, what should I want? You tell me. You tell me what I'm supposed to want because I can't do. It's very difficult for.
Yeah.
But that is actually a problem. But but I really like philosophy. but it's also very difficult as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot, information heavy, and it's kind of useless. I mean, as far as jobs and stuff. But yeah, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
either that or a science degree, probably.
science is fun. Yeah, I really would have liked. Well, I wanted to be a neuroscientist,
Oh, I
but
love
that didn't
neuro.
pan out.
Yeah.
Low expectations. Okay, we have another
Yeah, nice. Oh,
another
yeah.
super chat from the Detroit 80s Queen again. Thank you.
What?
And
Twice?
yeah, she sent $5 and says, "What about dyscalculia? I believe I have that when it comes to math. No saying that someone can't learn, but it has to be processed in another way." Yeah,
Oh, yeah. But that's what I'm
definitely.
saying, is like, you gotta be able to, if you just say, "I'm not a math person," then you won't even let yourself get to the place where you can figure out what that other method to absorb it is, right? You gotta first, like, acknowledge that, "No, I can learn, but I just might have to learn in a different way," and just have the information presented in a different light, which most people do. That's sort of the problem with public schools, is that it's just standardized, and they've done some programs that have been helpful as far as, like, trying to, bring the information to the kids that in a way that's best for each individual kid, but it is, it's tough. There's a lot of kids. So, it can be tough.
Yeah, same
Sorry, go
thing with
ahead.
um, what's it called? Dysgraphia. When my kid was still in public school, they were having a hard time with handwriting, and everybody thought, oh, just lazy, doesn't want to write, blah blah blah. But then later on, the doctors were like, no, it looks like it could be, something like more to do with the hand gripping, or like not being able to like tell how to write the different letters. And we went from with using those little hand rubber grips that helped a lot. Well,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
one
The
thing.
slide on the pencil.
Yeah, yeah. But then
I
another thing
Yeah.
was like in printed font, when they were writing, in print, the H and the N for them looked the same. When you couldn't tell the difference when they were writing it, and that was where they were thinking it was dysgraphia.
Hmm,
And so we switched from print to cursive, and it was perfect. Like the writing was great.
really? Wow.
So, and they say that that's a typical thing with people with dysgraphia. So, and
Yeah.
it can be like dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, all of these issues that schools sometimes think, oh, she's a dumb kid that's like being lazy, doesn't want to make, doesn't want to put in the effort. And it's like, yeah, no, it's just like you can't fit everybody in the same box. That's the
Right.
problem.
You gotta have, like, and, more recently, we have, I can't think of what they call it, but they have like a section of the class, and if you can't, like, get the topic, whatever it is, you can go over to this spot of the classroom, and they will work on things in a different way while the other kids are doing something differently, so that they can have, a different understanding for it, and they try to do stuff like that, like figure out if maybe they have some kind of issue with stuff in that way.
Yeah, that's one of the things. The school that I mentioned that we're gonna get into has that too. We went to the parent meeting thing a couple nights ago, and they were saying that the difference that they have from like regular public school is that kids learn at whatever level they try to keep it at grade level, right? At within that grade, but you can go at your own speed. Like, and if they need to repeat sort of that same lesson a couple times, they let them do that, and they allow the other kids to continue moving forward with their lessons, so that they don't get behind. But then also the other ones, have more opportunity to actually learn the material and understand it and master it, and not just like memorize it for a test and then forget it. You know?
Yeah, and that's another thing that I think was an issue too, is like, for me anyway, like growing up, the way I did, it was like school was just like kind of like memorizing stuff. Um, we never learned how to learn. That I think that was what really messed me up the most, and was something I had to like do in my 30s to figure out like how to actually learn stuff, without getting really frustrated with myself. But they didn't really teach, like, I don't even know if they do still. Do they even teach logic and stuff at public schools, or is that like a college thing?
I think it's just college
Really?
generally. I
That's
don't
crazy.
remember having it. Yeah,
That needs to be like like kindergartners should be like learning identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle. I mean, it's just you know what I mean? Like, it's the basis for reality, you know?
yeah. For sure, some logic and some little bit of philosophy, like early, sort of thing, like help you think about things, help you reason about the world and question things, and not just like
Yeah,
blindly
not
do
just
that one thing.
memorizing like facts and that's it. That's not learning, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was like. That was one of the things that for my kid was really hard. It was like just everything has to be like reading material, and then you memorize it for that test on the Friday, and then when you go back on Monday, it's gone.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
remember
you
it
totally forget
because
all of it.
yeah, because like a lot of people don't learn well from reading. Some people learn better from audiobooks or listening to someone talk about the topic because it like memorizes in their brain, sort of in a different way. Which
Yeah.
brings me to the question I always ask people, because this is one thing that helps me understand how somebody else learns better, and is that people think in different ways, right? Like inside their brains, things look different when you're thinking about something. It's not always the same. For some people, it's a voice. For some people, it's like a movie. For others, it's like still images. Others have like aphantasia, which is like completely blank. And others have like sort of like a feeling, intuition type thing.
Hmm.
What is your? Do you have
I
you
don't
ever thought about that? How what's
I
it
always had
like
to
in your?
I always had to do multiple. Like, if I did, like, I know I had to be the most irritating person, like, in the group when I was at the school because I would, like, read the stuff out loud, and I would, like, a lot of times I would write it down. I would, like, read it, then write it, and say it out loud. So I'm, like, saying it and hearing it, I had to, like, just utilize as many senses as possible to, like, get it in there because all the ADHD and everything was like,
Yeah.
just, like, so much going. There's so much nothing just going on in there. So you have to get around all that.
No, that's pretty cool. I like that because yeah, like I said, so everybody has such different ways of learning, and then I mean, there's even people that learn better through doing things, right? Like if you're wanting to learn how to fix a computer, you can watch a video on it, or you can read a book about it, or you can listen to an audiobook.
Right.
But maybe none of those things are gonna help you as much as it's gonna help you to actually work on the computer yourself.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
See, I
so
actually, I have, Dr. Kip Davis. He has this book, God's Propaganda, and I'm reading it, but I'm, like, listening to it too because I was like, once the audiobook came out, I was like, "Oh, good," because I have the hardest time sitting down and get myself to read. But now that I'm doing both, it's like I'm, like, enjoying it a lot more because it's almost like you see how much you miss when you're just listening to it at work and stuff. You, like, get distracted and all that, so doing both is really cool.
yeah, that's good. All right, so we do have a call right now.
Nice. Very
It's
cool.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it looks like it's a theist who's from Canada.
Cool.
Archon, do I have that right? Archon, he, him, and who says homeschooling can be good. It depends on the curriculum and goals. Okay, I think
Okay.
we're starting
Oh,
on pretty good footing. How
Yeah.
you doing,
Hi.
Archon?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Great too. Thank you for calling. How's it going?
excellent.
What did you have in mind today for the call?
Well, I really like the conversation that you guys were having based on education. I wanted to jump on in and have a little bit of that discussion as a theist in order to, see if we align or not.
Cool.
Right on.
Because, oh, okay, perfect. And I mean, afterwards, obviously, we can see where the conversation goes if you are okay with that.
Yeah, of course. We
Yeah.
can see where it goes.
Okay, fantastic. So, when it comes to education, and definitely when it comes to homeschooling, I think that it matters, just like how it's stated, or how it was quoted, what I stated, is that it matters how and what the parent is doing with their child, because a family member of mine actually was homeschooled and actually got to university because of their homeschooling and everything like that, because of the curriculum that their parents, and rigorous curriculum that their parents put them through. So towards a certain extent, I think that if the curriculum is correct, and if the curriculum is based on what schools are teaching their children, then I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of what Brently was saying earlier on in the show, that was his concern, right? That if you have, let's say, two neighbors, right, like myself, and then right next door, and they're using no curriculum and they're just like winging it, and I'm using a state accredited curriculum, then we're gonna have completely different experiences in the same state with the same rules set by the state. So, like, how do we get to a point where both of our children can have the same level of education but still do it at home?
Right. I think that's the problem, right? Because every parent is different, and a lot of parents don't want to follow the curriculum that is actually given. But if you have certain parents that do, then I think what needs to happen is that there needs to be more accountability that is kind of put on to the parents. Because without accountability, they're able to go off script and then teach them whatever they want towards a certain extent, or half-ass it towards a certain extent, right? So you need somebody, kind of like an individual who comes in to see how the parent is doing within the curriculum that has been sent home, let's just say, and see if they are, quote unquote, I don't want to say qualified, because what does that mean, qualified? But see if they're
Right.
doing it correctly, or if they need to be kind of like held up, right? They need to be kind of looked and examined themselves in order to see if they're able to do this type of education to begin with.
Yeah, because otherwise you can just remove your child's ability to succeed in life. If you do a bad job, and let's be real, a lot of like high school and stuff is hard. That's why like each class has like like a different teacher and everything that like specializes in a particular subject, that's a lot for parents to do. Um, and if they can do it, cool, but we need some kind of standard, right? Like some kind of way that somebody can show up and be like, let me make sure that your kids aren't like, 10 or 12 years old and they can't read. Because that happens. There, that happens actually quite a bit, especially in like more rural states where they have, um, a lot of religious people that have basically made it so that you don't have to put your kids in school, and then stuff like that happens. But yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I do completely agree with you on that aspect. Like, I can understand if a theistic individual wants to teach their children, about some sort of aspect about God, but questioningly, I believe is the word I'm trying to say. But instead
We
of
get
letting
you.
your children make
That
that,
works.
like, not
Skeptically.
force it, but to let them understand it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the same exact time, I would say that if you're only literally teaching about God and not about anything else, then you're actually making your child's position even worse within any type of environment that they go into once they're
So,
done.
so you
That's
don't
Unless
think
true.
they're going to be a pastor or whatever the situation is, then okay, maybe. But besides that,
do you think so you don't think they should teach like religion as some kind of like in science class and stuff? For instance, I was taught that there were dinosaurs on Noah's Ark in science class.
Well, right there, I find that the credibility of the teacher just goes right out the window. When
Okay,
the
Okay, good.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna. Well, there were dinosaurs. Otherwise, that part in Daniel doesn't make any sense where he sees the dinosaur playing in the water because it would have
I'm
died
not that kind of
in
theist.
the flood. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I think something that the state could do to assist homeschool parents is that sometimes homeschooling can be really expensive. If you want to have a good curriculum, you have to pay a lot of money for it. Whereas if you send your kid to school, then it's free, right? And so providing parents, homeschooling parents, with an appropriate curriculum that is state accredited would be a great start, right? So that all the parents have that opportunity to give their children that education. And then maybe something like, I know a lot of homeschool parents don't want the government or the local, schools and staff involved in their education and all that stuff, but like a little bit of something will help more. Something like once a semester, like let the kids learn throughout the semester, however at whatever pace they can or want, right? But then at the end of a semester, have them take a test at the local school and see if they are at level or where. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, we're going to do something to you like as a punishment, but rather like, oh, hey, this is what you can work on to improve for the next test. So now hey, you're not doing very good at math or whatever, and then you can do better for the next one. And I don't know, just some throwing some ideas out.
I
No, but I
agree.
mean, those are
Mhm.
great ideas. Like, those are some foundational ideas right there that I actually agree with. Like, you can't just, first off, you need to hire a great staff in and of itself at the school. So then, after none of this pseudoscience, nonsensical foolery comes through. And then later on, what I would say is that you kind of have that periphery where it comes to your or the parents that are homeschooling the children. So then when they do come to the school, they're not being, lambasted with no, there was actually dinosaurs on Noah's Ark. I'm like, no.
Right. Yeah.
We-
What
you
about evolution?
know, sorry, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. I
I'm sorry. I
interrupted.
didn't realize I was interrupting you. My bad, man. No, I was just going to ask if do you think they should teach evolution at school, or do you think that's like one of those areas where we're like, well, religious people don't.
No, evolution is foundational. Like
Okay, all
for
right, that's
me,
good.
I
Okay,
think are definitely when it comes to the the God that I believe in and everything, I think that evolution is the very thing that makes it work. Like you cannot not have evolution and then say, okay, something just mysteriously appeared. Like, no, you have to have the evolutionary process, and that's where my deity works its work is through the evolutionary process.
okay,
Interesting.
I
Are you a
see.
Christian or no?
No, I'm not a Christian.
Oh, okay.
I'm a sun
Interesting.
worshiper.
A what?
A sun worshiper.
A sun worshiper.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Actually, never heard of that. But it, would
Makes
you
more
mind
sense for
sharing
Christianity.
what that means? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, sorry.
It
I'm
means,
new to that one.
no worries, no worries. It means that we worship the sun. And it's like the big fiery gas ball, hydrogen ball in the sky that's giving us light and has brought forth life and everything like that. That is the thing that we worship.
Okay.
That's actually really
I
common.
could get behind that. I could get behind that. All right.
Yeah. Or it was really common, right? Like historically, it was a pretty popular religious belief to worship the sun, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah, I
there
think
was a
so.
reason for it, because of the crops that grew from it. And it all started in Egypt and Samaria, and then slowly but surely started to expand through peripheries into Hellas and into Rome and into all these other periods on the island of Crete and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
there's a lot, and let alone even, which a lot of people wouldn't state, but I will, because the God of the Bible is the rendition of Aten in and of itself, which is the sun god that Akhenaten believed in. And once Akhenaten's temples were starting to get destroyed and everything like that, once he was dead, they fled. And henceforth, there was not like the exodus that you would think, but there was an exodus of Atenists in different directions. And in certain areas, they went into what we will now call, quote unquote, Israel, or Judea and Israel.
Wow, that's interesting.
I learned something today. That's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing. Like I'm gonna have to look more into that. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I mean, I'm not gonna say like I'm gonna become a sun worshiper, but like it's
It
definitely
exists.
something I've never heard of, and it makes a lot more sense than the God of the Bible for sure.
Does the sun
Indeed,
have
indeed. And literally, the God of the Bible was also, if you look at Sol Invictus, for instance, a lot of the similarities, even on Jesus, like when Jesus was born, his resurrection, everything like that, are the same exact dates as Sol Invictus, which is literally the invincible sun, or the unconquerable sun, I should say.
So does he have agency? It does.
That we're looking at are all influenced by the sun. We literally, Judeo-Christian and Islam, I would also say too, because it was influenced by Zoroastrian, and Zoroastrian religions were influenced by the sun as well. So they all permeate from the sun itself.
Right. Does it think? Does the sun like decide stuff and everything, or do you just worship stuff that does that? You know what I mean? Like, is it like a thinking being that can like decide, get stuff, and hear prayers and stuff?
Ooh, now that is a complex story. Like, we could definitely get into it. I don't mind.
Sure.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, we don't have any other callers right now, so we have the time.
Of course. So we do believe that the sun is a thinking being in and of itself. Yes. Just because the way that we look at things is based on consciousness. People say that consciousness is an emergent property, which it is. It is an emergent property, but it needs to emerge from somewhere. There needs to be a life giver in and of itself, and the sun is that life giver. And through the interactions of the sun and its effects on the earth, obviously, it allowed us slowly but surely to gain that aspect of consciousness.
So it did it on purpose?
Well, if you're good, I wouldn't say it did it on purpose, but what I would say is that it manipulates toward, and manipulate, I know sounds like a really bad word. It doesn't have the same connotation. It's kind of like with evolution. Evolution is based on the manipulation of the environment on a being in and of itself. And through deep time, what we have is this being slowly but surely through speciation diverging into different species and everything towards that extent. But it takes so long, and it also takes the environment and extinction to come through in order to do these very drastic changes between species. And that's why there's such a large gap between chimpanzees and human beings, or literally between anything that we look at and human beings in and of itself.
Okay, what are the sort of indications of the sun having? You're saying the sun has consciousness, correct? Like, is there something we can we've been able to measure or see, or how do we understand that it has consciousness?
Okay, so the reason why, and definitely when we're looking at it in general, we see that, and it starts off extremely small, right? Because consciousness is functional. It's a functionalist type of prospect. It's not just the brain, it's multiple aspects of the brain working together as one entity in order to create that aspect of consciousness. Well, consciousness is not just the brain, it's the mechanics within the brain itself. The brain is an extremely, complex mechanism. But just like when we look at the sun itself is also an extremely complex mechanism. So, and how we slowly got to that point is that there's this thing called dry plasma dust. Now, what happens is with this dry plasma dust is that slowly but surely over time, it actually starts to amalgamate together on its own. And what it does is that it can, what certain scientists have said is that it can also create a double helix. And if it's left out into the vacuum of space and everything like that, or in a vacuum, what there seems to be a tendency is that it starts becoming more complex and more and more complex the longer that it's within an area. So obviously, if we're talking about millions or billions of years, this complexity can get way more, how can I say it? I don't want to say, I guess you could say lifelike towards a certain extent. And slowly but surely with this dry plasma dust in and of itself, what it creates is, I forget what they're called. I think they're called plasmards. Plasmards, I believe. And now what these things are is kind of like, ball lightning and everything like that. So they're extremely rare on Earth, but we can actually see them, and there has been certain times where they've been, recorded towards a certain extent. And what happens is that if these plasmards or plasards or whatever the hell they're called come together, they can grow. They can don't want to say devour, but they can fuse together. Now, in the vacuum of space, where this also happens during the duration of, billions of years, what we see is that it slowly starts to culminate together through gravity in order to create a more complex structure, a protostar in and of itself. And then once you start seeing that protostar start to come together, what we finally see is kind of like what we see with souls, for instance, or the sun. So from these complex mechanisms of dry plasma dust, which culminate together on their own and create complex structures on their own, like literally inorganic, living beings towards a certain extent, even though that people like to pull back from it because it kind of makes it seem like only organic beings can be living, not inorganic in and of itself. But these things are kind of breaking the scale at the moment about, okay, what is happening over here? So that's how, if we really look at it, and if we see that these minute plasma dust or crystalline plasma dust is able to use
crystals,
they'll create these structures.
Okay.
But so, okay, this is a little bit beyond my understanding, right? But my general idea of what you explained is that, to summarize it for maybe the people in the chat that may not grasp everything that was said, what convinced you that the sun has a conscience is the complexity of the universe or our galaxy specifically.
Not the complexity of the universe, because for us, we see the universe as chaos. And that's why where so many people would say, oh, you are I think it's called a panpsychist. You're a panpsychist, meaning that the universe has consciousness and everything like that. And even like atoms have consciousness, and you amalgamate those atoms together. And the more you have these workings come together, the more that a thing could have a potential amount of consciousness to it, or towards a certain extent, or whatever. But we as sun worshippers don't agree with that. Within the chaos of the universe, with how fast the universe is spreading apart or expanding, we think that it's impossible for the universe itself to have consciousness. because of how fast it's expanding. But because we have these islands or these great local beacons of consciousness, sort of like Sol, for instance, or the sun, and let alone Sagittarius A, which is the massive stabilizer which allows consciousness to come to be. Because you need stability to have consciousness. You can't necessarily have too much chaos or else nothing can come to fruition. You need to have a stabilizer.
First of all, real quick, like how are we defining consciousness?
I was going to ask
like
exactly that question.
I feel like we need to have,
because I don't think we're on the same definition right here.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
there's a certain extent people could say to be aware. Another time, and if we want to get philosophical, it's the more inwardness of looking inside oneself and realizing the I of a particular thing.
Okay.
So it kind of the sort of thing is I think, therefore I am, which is the fundamental, which a lot of people state for consciousness, because consciousness is an inward look. That you're looking within, and through your inward look, you're able to then correlate your outward existence, how you interact with or your awareness with the outside world.
Right.
Okay.
So
Well,
so almost like a combination of self-awareness and reflection, like the ability to consciously think about one's own thoughts and actions, and realizing one's own existence or distinct identity. Like those two
You know
together?
what? That was beautifully fucking said. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I would define it as well. But I don't see how
Yeah,
that can apply to the
same.
sun.
But so my question is this, I'm trying to think about how we want to apply this to the sun, also in the same sense of considering the sun as the creator of life on Earth, right? Of humans. Yeah, sure, evolution and all that. But like, how did are you saying that the sun had consciousness from the beginning, and one day was like, hey, I would like to have some type of conscious company in this empty void, and so he or she created
It's she.
some sort of life.
Gotta be she, right?
Yeah.
I would think.
Oh, it's an it. It has no gender.
Hey, come
It
on now.
is.
It's listening to us,
Okay.
man. It can hear you right now.
Well, because that's the thing. The sun has been associated with female back in the past, and the sun has been associated with the male back in the past. So that's the thing, is that it doesn't necessarily have a particular gender to it. It is what it is.
Gotcha.
So what would be the evidence that you would say, like, that it definitely does have consciousness that you are aware of enough to be able to say that that is something that you believe in? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's the one thing, is that we kind of like, and it kind of sucks to say, because I wish that it was something else that I can be like, oh, but literally it is based on a personal experience. I cannot say anything other than that. But then after I started to do more research, because I despise when people say personal experience and then they leave it at that. Because it could be just something, like a fragment of something inside my head, or underneath deep duress, all of a sudden I have, this personal experience. But slowly but surely and I still need to do more research on it. So I'm not saying I'm at the end of the rope and I know everything. I do not.
What was would you mind sharing that specific personal experience that sort of like was like your aha moment?
Oh, absolutely. It started with because I was I don't want to go into it too much, if you don't mind, but my situation was very dire at literally about a year and a half ago. I would say, no, maybe a little less. I would say like mid-year, it was extremely dire. And I didn't know if things were going to pan out or not and everything. And I was stressing, and I had a little one on the way, and I had all these types of the issues monetarily, health wise, everything like that. It was just everything was breaking down on me and around me in a sense, or at least that's how it felt. And there was just one day where I was just sitting down and I was, literally just thinking about kind of just ending it type of thing, And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, I felt like this warmth on the back of my neck. And from that warmth, I felt this feeling of everything's going to be okay. I got you. And I was like, the fuck was that? But as soon as I heard that, like all those issues just kind of like dissipated. And I was like, okay, hold on, what is this? And I turned around, and it's going to sound so cliche, but the way that the sun was bouncing off of the actual light, off the window, and it was just hitting me right on the back of the neck. But it was just the weirdest thing because I didn't have that feeling until those rays hit my neck. And then that's when I felt that experience.
Okay. That's
And then
fair.
afterwards, the weirdest thing, like things started to actually start panning out. My health started to get better. The way that I was doing things was starting to become much more clear. I had literally, as I stated, my health, my mental health got better, my living conditions got better, and everything like that. And ever since then, and it only feels when I go out in the sun, I feel that particular feeling that, okay, I'm going to be okay, and
Well,
that's my experience.
no, I'm really glad that that brought you back from feeling such despair, because it's a really horrible feeling to be in that place. So first of all, I'm really glad that you're here, and I don't want to like discount your experience, but let me share my experience, okay? And like about 2 years ago, I had to come off some pain medications that I've been on for like 8 years. I've been on opiates, and when I come off of them, I had the same type of withdrawals that a junkie has, that someone who takes heroin has. All right. It was like I thought I was gonna die. And I had, I know we can't use this specific word, but like thoughts of ending my life. Right. I was at that point, and for days and days and days. And one day my mom is like really worried about me, listening to me cry on the phone and sitting in the dark. And she's like, just put on something on your audio, whatever, listen to something that you enjoy. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I started listening to the ACA shows, the atheist shows, and it wasn't doing anything. And I was just kept crying. And all of a sudden, I wasn't eating. Obviously, I wasn't sleeping. And, I wasn't taking care of myself. My health was crap. I also had a lot of other health issues. And a Green Day song comes on, and something flipped. Some kind of switch flipped in my head, in my brain, and my mood completely changed. Those self-harm thoughts gone. I got up, I made food, I drank some water, I took a shower, I felt great, I went for a walk. Like the energy I hadn't had for like a week or 2 weeks was back. So those are not supernatural experiences. Like Green Day is
Oh,
not
absolutely.
my god. They're not gods. Well, they kind of
What?
are. I got a tattoo of them.
Billy,
I got a tattoo to remind me of that.
Billy
But
Joe is, and maybe the drummer too. He's pretty great.
Hey, if you want to
Um,
worship Green Day, that's fine too. That's fine.
I kind of do in a way. Yeah. Everybody knows.
oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
but what I
No,
mean is,
I completely agree with you. And that's why in the beginning I was like, okay, now this is just a placebo effect. That's all it
yeah.
is. This is just a placebo effect.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to not delve into this. But then all of a sudden, like, and it's weird because and I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of like when birds migrate. Like it was just like the way that my conscious, well, I don't want to say my conscious experience, but my experience with the sun past that day and everything like that was different, and it felt different to me. It wasn't the same like any other day and everything like that. It wasn't just this one time off. It was this constantly whenever I was in the sun. I was like, I felt energized now. I felt ready to
But it
take on the world. I felt
if
like anybody. And
this
but even that I took away from that, and I said that's a placebo effect. But then when I started to look at, certain scientists and definitely physicists and their works when it came to, consciousness towards a certain extent, and certain physicists stating that consciousness does not need to be, quote unquote, in a particular, like in an organic organism, right? It can be in, like, we're kind of looking at things through a linear scope when we're looking at consciousness. And then when I started to delve into, just like with the plasmoids, that's what they're called, plasmoids, and
okay.
into the crystal, plasma dust, and how they amalgamate together, kind of like like a living organism in and of itself.
Okay,
It kind of
but
just,
have you,
uh,
as much as I respect physics, have you also looked as much in depth as at psychology and at brain science? Because I'm telling you, if you delve into brain science, it has a very good explanation. Look into what dopamine does to your brain and to your whole body. You're gonna feel a whole entire physical experience through dopamine. And what you said about every time you go in the sun, you still feel this experience. What my thing that I shared with you happened in 2024. So about July 2024. So about almost 2 years ago. Ev- I listened to
well,
Green Day every single day since then. I'm not kidding you. I listen to them every single day. It's like an addiction for me, and it gives me that dopamine in the brain. And it's like, look, if that's what it took to replace the chemical drugs, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having to listen to music to keep my sanity, sort of. But it's sort of a very similar experience to what you're sharing. Like it's a repeated action of what that takes you back to that moment where you
What?
originally felt that really strong experience, and you're gonna re-experience it every time.
Well, and you're also going to confirm your bias that you know what I mean?
exactly.
Like you're gonna if you have that idea that something is what it is, and you've had that experience, then you're gonna look for evidence that that experience was genuine without even trying to. You can like you don't even really mean to do it, and it's like it has such a higher impact. I think when we believe that stuff is real, it almost reminds me of like story like what are they called the stories that you tell that are, like, scary, but they're, like, supposedly
Oh,
real.
horror stories.
Not horror story, what are they called? There's, like,
Mm,
a I can't think of what it's called, but it's like there was a horror movie called it too,
mm,
but it's just, like, these tales
like
or whatever, but,
Jeepers Creepers, maybe, or something.
no,
Oh,
it was
Tales
called
No.
from the Crypt
nah,
Keeper,
they're just dang, I just had it in my head too. They're just,
oh,
like, legends,
Rick
or urban
Tales.
legends. Urban legend, that's it.
Oh, urban legends. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and what makes those scary, like if you tell those stories to somebody, as far as them just being a narrative structure or whatever, people would be like, okay, whatever. That's kind of scary, I guess. But when you tell them and it's real, and you're like, yeah, the dog was like licking their hand, and then they went, and then it was the guy, the killer actually was the one thing licking his hand. Then it's scary because you're like, oh, that was real though. That really happened. That
Yeah.
makes it scary, it makes it more impactful, right? And
Yeah.
it's like
Exactly.
you
I
know what I mean?
think what I'm trying to say is
In fact,
that
oh,
you don't
sorry, go ahead.
necessarily have to think. that the sun is conscious in order to feel that the sun saved your life, or that it continues to save your life every day and bring you happiness and bring you pleasure. You don't have to believe the pseudoscience in order to feel the same way about the sun that I do about Green Day.
It, understandable, and I see your position. I definitely see your position in that, in the way that you experience your experience and me experiencing mine, right? And that's why I am on a journey right now. It's not like
Okay.
I'm saying this is my concrete belief system and that's it. Like obviously, I'm on a journey in order to see that, okay, this could possibly be just, a placebo effect, just like how you stated. And hey, say
Yeah,
la vie. After I'm like, all right, that was one hell of a ride. Okay, let's go and, you know,
that's
figure out
cool.
something, or there's something to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's just that because there's a difference when people talk about, because there's a person that I looked up beforehand whose name was Rupert Sheldrake, and when I was speaking to a close friend of mine who's also within the atheist community and also not on this show, but he's associated with Skeptic Haven, and we spoke about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, well, Rupert Sheldrake is based on pseudoscience," and he's 100% correct. Rupert Sheldrake is based on pseudoscience, and that's
He
Yeah,
why
came.
I know what
I
you're talking about.
He literally came
Okay.
up when I looked up, "Is the sun conscious?"
Morphic.
It's like
Yeah.
Rupert Sheldrake. I think he said
yeah, see, so
panpsychist, but
that's
yeah.
the whole entire thing. But for me or whatever, I don't look at Rupert Sheldrake's work because I understand that the way that he's experiencing it in and of itself is based on panpsychism and everything. That all the universe in and of itself is a thinking organism and everything, and I do not agree with that whatsoever.
Gotcha.
But the thing that I do see is just the way, because obviously with human beings and everything like that, the way that we interact with the sun on a daily basis is towards a certain extent kind of like how could I say it? I'm forgetting the word right now. I don't want to say traditional, but it's kind of like what the hell is it called again? When you're doing certain things
Sub
in like
subconscious.
what religious or what Christians do, they do not
Oh,
rituals.
ritualist. Oh, okay. No.
Uh,
No,
mutualistic or
no,
ritualistic? Like
there's
mutual?
another word for it, and I'm whatever.
I think I got it.
I'll use ritual, even though ritual is
Traditions.
not the word that
Traditional.
I'm looking for, but it's not traditional, no.
No.
But it's kind of like we
Like
work around.
mutual
It's like,
cooperation, maybe?
I'm sorry, pardon?
Oh, I was saying, did you mean like, are you talking about when two organisms sort of like work together to keep the other alive or something like that?
No, nothing. Not like that. It's kind of like when it's before a ritual. You do certain things in repetition, but even repetition isn't the damn word. It's like you're
Habit?
doing
Habitual. No.
Habitual could be, yeah.
we're I'm going to use the word, but it's not the word that I'm looking for, but it's
Okay.
close to the word. It's like ritualistically. Like when the sun is out, everybody wants to go out. Everybody wants to interact. Everybody wants to kind of like enjoy nature and everything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people don't want to go out in the rain too, but the way that we interact with, nighttime or with the rain and everything like that is completely different compared to,
It depends on the person.
I live in Florida, and we do not like the sun. We,
I
in
live in
fact,
Texas and I hibernate when the sun is out.
that's right.
Well, that's when
That's
you
right.
see there can be some outliers. I'm not saying. I'm
Well,
not
I get what you're saying, but that's because we developed for that,
Yeah,
right?
but that also has another explanation, and it's melatonin, because during the night you get a high dose of melatonin and you sleep and you're rested, and when the sun comes up, your body it gives a signal to your body to lower the melatonin levels, and so you're able to wake up, and also you get your coffee
Right.
and stuff, and so you're like, yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
you are completely correct based on that. But what I'm saying is that the ways, and it's also because of evolution too. I'm not saying that it's a mystical thing. Obviously, it's an evolutionary thing.
Oh,
But the thing is that it's tied to, we are very tied to the sun evolutionarily
right.
and everything. And there's this aspect where even now, certain, again, or scientists and neurologists even state that the sun has certain effects on the human brain when there's solar flares or when there's these particular type of things, because obviously our brains work in like these magnetic fields and stuff like that, which sounds weird, but that's why we have the thing called the God helmet and everything like that, because it messes up with the actual firing of neurons, and let alone the actual magnetic waves from those firing of neurons. So in and of itself, again, there's this intent, and again, as I stated, for me, it started with the personal experience. Now, my number one thing is that I would never state that you guys need to believe in it because I do. That
Oh,
is
you know,
not
okay. I didn't feel like you were going that way. No, no, no. I
Yeah,
don't, not at all.
that's all
Yeah.
right. I just
right.
want to know if
But
stuff is true. Like,
my
how can we
point
test for it?
is
Yeah, yeah.
traverse this path in a sense on my own to see where it leads. And if it leads down to the side, because that's the thing, I despise pseudoscience with an ultimate passion. So, but the thing is that when I'm looking at these physicists and everything like that, these individuals aren't creating, and I'm not talking about Rupert Sheldrake here. I'm talking about the individuals that are talking about crystalline plasma dust and everything like that. These particular things are actually concrete sciences and everything. So if we look at here, and this is a concrete science already, then it's and it shows that inorganic matter can come together in a way that is kind of the same exact way as organic matter, but then after it doesn't make sense, why the hell would it culminate together if it's not organic? Inorganic
Okay.
matter shouldn't work that way, but it does. So hence
Interesting.
it's only these dry plasma crystals. So that's the thing that is interesting to me. And that's why I was kind of like, maybe and then after, let alone the plasmoids, and then after protostars, and then the stars that we have. And after, there's much more that is coming down the pipeline as well, talking about how influential the sun is on us and on the planet itself and everything like that.
But so
And
is
that's
oxygen, though. Oxygen has a very similar, like, we can live in the dark for a very long time, but we can't live without oxygen for very long. So it's like there are a lot of things that are super super important for our survival, and that are uh, further up on the list above the sun.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like even with oxygen in and of itself and everything, like yes, it's based on carbon gases, which get sucked up into trees and everything like that, and they release, our oxygen and everything. But at the same exact time too, we also get oxygen from photosynthesis in and of itself, right? Because if photosynthesis wasn't there, we wouldn't have trees, we wouldn't have plants or any of these
Oh, I see what you're
particular.
saying.
Yeah. So
So,
So
okay.
that's
oh,
what I'm saying. Is that oxygen, yes, is important, but even that is created by the sun in and of itself.
Interesting. All right. So this is a really, really good call, and I would love to keep it going, but unfortunately, we do have another call that I would like Brently to take, because this person wants to talk to Brently specifically We've already had like almost 2 hours. So, but Archon, I really appreciate all the information that you gave us. That was a really interesting conversation that I've actually never had before. So I appreciate that very much. And also, again,
And
I will
I
repeat it.
thank you.
I'm really glad you're still here and that you're able to talk to us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I would rather interact with atheists or naturalists or secular humanists any day of the week rather than people that just follow a book because it's supposedly holy. Like, so don't get me wrong, and I want people to push against my ideas because they may be incorrect, and if they are incorrect, then we got to fix them.
Awesome. Well, if you want to learn more about brainy stuff, like how different things, not the sound, but like music, whatever affects your brain, I have a lot of stuff on my own channel, which is called Ways to Human. It's like right up here on the over my head on the name title. It's not this channel, Skeptic Haven. It's a different channel. So you can find it over there if you will be interested in all that stuff. But thank you so much for the call, and
Yeah.
all right,
Thank you. May the sun guide you. Have a great
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
May
Take
the
it
sun
easy, man.
keep you warm.
That's right.
All right.
Stay warm.
Okay, so the next caller is Matt Pig, who is a fellow content creator. I'm pretty sure
Right.
him from Northern Ireland. Tongue twister. Why?
I know, right?
And he says homeschooling from a Northern Ireland. Why do I have to say it again? Please, can you say it?
Just oh no, because it's not Ireland. Yeah,
The NI.
I was just like, just
The
say
NI.
Ireland. But you can't. They get very mad about that.
An island up there somewhere. And he wants to talk about like their homeschool experience, I guess, in Ireland. So let's see if we got sound. Hey, Matt Big, can you? Oh, hey, what's
Hi.
up?
Hello, Brently. Hi, all. Hi, how's everyone?
What's up, man? How we doing? Put some clothes on. Okay.
So, what's education? Is it education, Christian, homeschooling specific, or is it a failure in education in total?
For my experience? It's still there? Can you hear us?
Oops, did the sound drop? Maybe.
Oh, no.
I do believe he was asking whether, like, your personal experience, if you felt like it was a complete failure. But I could have gotten that wrong. I don't know, possibly.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. He might have been asking too. I mean, I think the religion, I mean, just like Hitchens would say, religion poisons everything, right? And I think if you can do it well, you should. But I think you gotta have some kind of standardized, some type of way to check to make sure that they're okay. It's just too much.
Recently in Northern Ireland, there was a father and a daughter, and the daughter was forced into this religion. He took his daughter out of religious education because he considers himself to be an agnostic. He didn't want his daughter to go through what we consider to be RE, religious education. She was then not ostracized, but there was things that, obviously she went through because she's not going to the class and this, that, and the other. He took it to the Supreme Court over here. And Northern Ireland now, in this last 6 months, we have to completely change our religious education. They are not allowed to focus on Christianity anymore specifically. They have to open it up to different ones and, Islam and this and spirituality and like all of it. I haven't read the specifics of it, but the whole thing is in the midst of being changed because full forcing Christianity down your throat. With the Good Friday Agreement that what happened over here, it was Catholics and Protestants. So the main education that was taught was Christianity, an amalgamation of the two, the correlations between the two. But now they're like, right, we're more of a multicultural country and, we have people who don't follow religion. So they're changing the whole thing up now, which is quite good. It's not a homeschooling thing, but on the religious education for that, I feel that it's good.
Yeah, definitely better, right? Than just doing the one religion.
Yeah,
Sounds like, yeah. I would say
Yeah.
like not secular, but like more inclusive. You know.
Yeah, that's tough
yes,
though,
I,
because
I
like,
have to say now, I don't want to mention names or whatever, but the school that my daughter goes to, I'm from a Protestant background. Her mother's from a Catholic background, and all her brothers and sisters and cousins and stuff all go to specific Catholic schools. It was very important for me that my wee girl went to a mixed school. And in this last 7, 8 years that she's been there, because it's been a mixed school, it's got more funding, it's got better education. My wee girl goes to school with, kids from Spain. She has a kid that she gets on with really well. A guy from Muhammad. He's Islamic. He just spends it. They don't ostracize him for not going to RE. She's very inclusive. Don't get me started on my daughter, but we're talking education. But yeah, the school that she goes to, it's very good. It's very inclusive. She's made friends from it. She spent 6 months trying to learn Spanish on like Duolingo on her mum's phone at like 7 because she wanted to communicate better with one of the guys in her class. It's a
Oh,
very
wow,
non-American education system.
no. So with religious education, that's like a separate thing that you can opt into, or it's like part of like social studies or
No,
something. It's like,
religious education is something that is not mandatory, but you opt yourself out. It is something that comes along with, both maths and science and this and all the rest of it. It's mainly in high school. It's not in primary school. My wee girl has had assemblies where they go to like the gym, when they do this, that, and the other. And she is in the transitional period of her religious education and stuff like that. We talk.
whoops. Oh,
oh,
okay. Well, big. The
shoot.
problem is that sometimes when people call from the phone and the phone screen goes black,
Oh, I'm back.
then it
Yeah,
cuts.
no, I'm
Okay,
back.
there you
I'm
go.
back.
Is that right?
I was
Happens a
warned.
lot.
I was warned. Yeah, no, her education is going well. The religious education in school, as I say, is changing. And yeah, she's coming out. She said to me a few weeks ago, she's not sure if Jesus or God exists at the minute. She's still going through it. She's a good critical thinker. Our education system is good, but at the same time, it's very lacking in what it pushes people towards. So I can understand why people would do homeschooling. To bring it back to the topic over here on the show, American homeschooling, I feel, is more taking kids out of education so that they can be taught more religious things, where education, homeschooling over here would be, I've got a lot of money and I don't like what you're doing with the education system, so I'm going to try and focus my kids on a
Yeah,
certain.
that's kind of what I had to do. Sort of like oh no, like what they were doing at the regular school. My kid is obviously not to brag, but my kid learns in a very different way and is advanced in certain ways. But like can't tie their shoes, right? But like will fly a plane, sort of thing. And so it's like,
Right.
right. So we wanted to do a more tailored education, which they could not provide at the regular school. And now we do find it in this high school that is, college dual education, whatever they call it, dual credit, something
Yeah.
like that.
Right. Yep.
And it's like, yeah, so we do it more for that reason than like, oh, hey, we're gonna go and learn about some god because I don't believe in any gods.
Right. Do they do like social? Do you think they should be like some kind of social thing on the side? Like, because like I feel like that's kind of part of it too, right? Like you need to have some kind of interaction with kids. Not that you need public
Yeah.
school to do that, but I think also like it's really good. And this was something I was lacking is uh failing in front of other people, like not being able to figure something out in front of other people,
Oh
so
yeah.
that you can like learn that that's actually okay. That's how you learn is to not, to fail the first time and then figure out like, oh, you got to do it again. Trial and error is part of it. A lot of times, like people
Yes,
that are
saying I don't know and trying to learn and approaching the topic, you know. It's
Yeah.
okay to say I don't know. That's something that a lot of people have a problem with.
Well, it was really hard for me
Yeah.
because I always got like super angry because it's from my purview. I didn't go to public school, so I didn't see people as they were learning. So I assumed everybody else just knew stuff. So when I couldn't figure something out, I'm like, I'm fucking stupid. It's because of my brain not working. That's what it is. You know, but
And saying that, frankly, my daughter's very much like that as well. She assumes automatically that she should know something. Like,
Mhm.
if she does something incorrectly, then I would not chastise her, but I'd be like, look, you did this wrong. This is the right way to approach it. And then she feels bad because she should have already known that. And it's like, no, this is the learning process. You have to get things wrong. You have to make mistakes, you know?
yeah, that's really important to learn. I mean, that's funny. You said they got to make mistakes. It always reminds me of the Magic School Bus. She would always say that, make mistakes, you know, like go
It's funny.
explore, make
Yeah,
mistakes. Yeah.
and like you said, it's
An
a good
epithesis,
thing.
is it an antithesis, an epithesis, or whatever? The personification of that story would be whenever she was 3 and she asked me that her mother had told her not to touch nettles because they sting. She asked me how much they sting. I said, touch them and feel. And yeah, she doesn't touch nettles anymore. You know, it's an experience. It's a mistake you made. It's something you go through.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying that, as you said, Brently, it's good to do it in front of other people too, and that's what sometimes in-person school can provide. That in our case, we do a lot of like groups. I'm lucky that we have a local library that's really big, and they do like teenage, different type of groups like video games, reading books, crafts,
Yeah,
sewing, and all that
studies have.
stuff too.
I was looking recently. Studies have come out that this Gen Z is the first generation ever since records began that their cognitive abilities have actually dropped than the age group than before. The ability to look on the internet. Oh, I've lost. There we go. I'm back. The ability to use a laptop and not writing it down is actually, I don't want to say dumbing them down. It's not giving them the ability to deal with things, you know? If we can widen the conversation ever so slightly to talk about the problems with the education system, like, do any of you have kids yourselves?
I do. I have one.
No, I'm good. I'm all right.
Do you have any problems that you see in the education system where you feel that you have to like step in and sort of fill in a gap that now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but obviously parents need to be involved in their kids' education, but do you have any problems in what you're seeing and what they're educating in your child at the moment?
Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons. I don't know if you caught earlier, but I homeschool my kid because since COVID, well, that was mandatory, and then after COVID, we had some other personal stuff that I won't mention that led us to like stay home for like about another year, and then after that, we were like, well, now we're doing way better than they were doing in public school at home, and so we continued that. But right now, just today, we got them into a school which is part of the college, and so it's a high school that doubles as a college education, and they get to take high school classes and college classes and graduate with like a degree, like a college degree, when they finish high school. But we did all that because
As
we
someone who
didn't
does,
like the public
as
school.
someone who does, as someone who does and did and is going through the process of homeschooling and now going into the high school, interactions and stuff on a social level, did not to put it all on the parent, but did you make the effort to include them in different groups around, like increase their social interactions? Obviously, being around a kid and somebody picking on you because you forgot to zip up your zip and these things, they build character, they build a personality. When you're homeschooling, you're not having these social interactions. Was there any backup for that, or are they just lonely, weird kids now?
No, they're not. No, my kid is like, my kid says he's shy, but he's not. Like, as soon as somebody says a word, he just starts talking about all the things. Like, it doesn't matter what age somebody is. He can talk to like little kids all the way to like the elderly, and talk about like age appropriate stuff. Obviously, not like, I'm not talking about like adult things, but like
Adult
say
stuff. Okay. Yeah, I got
like
it.
I don't know, like advanced computer stuff and things like that that are like or politics.
Oh yeah,
Like
I totally understand. My wee girl's 9. I bought her a freaking 3D printer for her birthday last month. She's
oh
already
yeah,
figured out how to do CAD filing and stuff. And like, I've even talked to her about, like, she was asking why it was cold last week. Okay, we all know about the war that's going on. She was asking about it being cold. Very shortly, I used an analogy of Israel and Palestine sharing a house. Now Palestine owns a bathroom and Israel owns the house, and they're trying to take over the street, and they've got the guy from the next town over helping them. And like, in an analogous sort of childlike way, she sort of, like, she understands. She's mature for her age.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we also do, like I was saying, like
But anyway,
local
rambling
groups
about
at
my
the
daughter, we should be
library.
talking about the education system, right? If you could, Brently, we'll throw it at Brently, not that I'm taking it over. Brently loves to see me streak and wiggle at him. I promise to take the
Yes.
trousers off if you answer this question. What would you do with the education system, Brently, if you had, say, 5 main goals, not topics, but 5 main goals that you were trying to do with the education system? That, like, what would you aim for?
As far as like what the 5 goals would be.
Yeah, like, you want to produce, you've got 25 kids per class. We'll try and keep it under an education system where they can actually educate them. So you have 25 kids, at maximum under a teacher. And like, what is that goal of the teacher? What is the things that you want to teach them? Do is it math and science and history, or do you want to teach them this, that, and the other? Like, what, if you want to teach them a class, but like, I don't want to influence them. What is the 5 goals? Like, what?
Okay, so I would say definitely logic and reason needs to start first, just so they can understand just the concept of consistency and things like that. And then I would also say like media literacy. That's really important right now. And the fact
What do you
that
mean by media literacy? From a Northern Irish point of view, we don't have that class. What do you mean by media literacy? Being able to tell the difference between what's bullshit and what's not.
in the
Yeah.
news, yeah, in media and stuff, yeah, just like what makes your bullshit meter go off. So I mean, because I feel like that would be downstream from logic, right? Like, so it would start with logic, and then that would be
Yeah, whenever you said logic, I was thinking, is he going to mention critical thinking and being able to tell the difference between what's true and what's not? But so we're on the same lines. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Can
So
I
that would
can
be
I add
downstream.
one? I would like to see better communication being taught in schools, like how to have healthier communication with other people, and like I don't know, teach epistemology, like Anthony Magnus-Bosco's Tao epistemology or something like that.
Yeah,
This is wonderful. I would marry both of you. And my other questions is understanding where things come from and debate class. So epistemology and discussions, yeah, we're all on the same sort of thread line here.
definitely. Yeah, that was gonna be like my next one, is just like how we
Okay.
know what we think we know, because and all like the concept of knowledge and all that. I think it's really fascinating, but it's also really important. Um, but yeah, and then I definitely would do math. Um, but the way that I think about things is that I hear a lot of people go, "Oh, they're never going to use that in the future, so don't worry about." And I can't stand that, because I'm like, that's not the point. The point is it's a muscle that you need to work, and sometimes you need to work it to just get it to do really complex things and still know what it's doing. So that's why, like, complex algebra and stuff, even though you won't use it, just working your brain in that particular way when it's real abstract and doing these like puzzles and stuff.
The
That's
approach
so
to a
good.
problem, being able to see a problem, work your way through it logically, and go, if X happens, then Y should figure it out. And yeah, problem solving skills, very, very good.
God,
It's something that should be ingrained in people. How to approach a problem, how to solve it. Some guy says you can jump off a building and fly, or you can take the elevator. Let's see what the science says.
there you go. 100%.
Love it.
Yeah.
I had an argument just out of the blue, one day when we were driving home about proof of concept and how you can prove a thing. And I don't want to. Is it Sally with the red room? Sally with the room learning how the color red until she goes outside, she doesn't see it. Is it Sally in the room or whatever it was? And in an abstract sort of way, just out of the blue about proving something with my daughter. She's in the back seat, and I made the argument that the sky was purple. And I argued for a good 20 minutes in the car home that the sky was purple. Do you not see that the sky is purple? It's clearly purple. I've got sunglasses on, right? She doesn't. And this is the point that I tried to make to her, is the critical thinking. Like, you can literally look out the window. You can see these things. Look at what I'm wearing. The eyesight that's coming out of my eyes. I'm wearing sunglasses, the idea of the approach of the argument.
Mary's room. Yeah, that's it. I know exactly. It's like it requires the experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Mary's
We just
room.
made a whole
Thank you
awesome
very much.
school.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
We just fixed the school system.
She did.
guys.
We were watching. She asked me. She likes to do debates. We watch debates on YouTube. We bounce back and forth about questions and certain things, and she enjoys them. She enjoys Jubilee. Okay, we're not even going to go into it, how bad Jubilee is, but they are good shows for me and her at 9 for us to bounce questions back and forth. Her favorite one is Dr. Mike going against the anti-vaxxers, and we were listening to it in the car on the way home, and it got to the old lady who was talking about her husband who had cancer and her son who had been vaccinated and this, that, and the other. And out of nowhere, she just went, has all she got is stories, Daddy? Or like, has she any evidence? And like, I was just like, you're amazing. Like, I love you. There's a tear running down my eye. This is great. That's the way that kids should be approaching education, asking questions, wondering what's going on. Can you back it up with what you're saying? And
Yeah. I think we just fixed the school system that big. But we gotta go because we're like way past our show end time, and everybody needs to go to bed. And I know you're in Ireland. I don't know what you're doing now. Go tell your roommate hello from me. The very stable roommate that you have. He knows who he is.
very stable. It has to go up and do a government thing in the morning, so he makes sure to get his money, so he's sleeping.
All right. Cool. Well, tell him the
We have
deaf
a social
lady say
network
hi.
over here where we actually look after people,
Yeah. Lucky you, lucky Irish.
That's right. Luck of you.
All right. Give us a call next time, and thank you so much for the conversation. We'll see you around.
Yeah, it was great talking to you again, man.
Thank you all for having me. Very much appreciated. And Brently, I'll wiggle my ass through your chat tomorrow. I'll see you later.
Sounds great, man. Always love it.
Oh, goodness. Have a good one. Get some good sleep. All right, Brently, what do you have coming up? Anything you want to share that you have coming up?
I tend to just
You always
find the
random.
silliest stuff. Yeah, it's very it is very random.
All right.
Very last second. But yeah, I am going to be doing a live stream though on next month or April 4th, I think, where we're going to have a whole bunch of creators come on my channel, and we're going to play some games and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I heard something about that. Cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I wanted to share a happy birthday to one of our crew members, Bree Badgers, their husband, Milknorf. I hopefully say that right. Milk North. That's
Milk-
their
Milk North?
username in the live chat. All right, and it's his birthday. So happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Hey, happy
Stuff.
birthday.
Quickly, next Thursday on this show, Critical Call, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, Secular Rarity is going to join me, and there is no objective morality. That's going to be the topic.
Ah,
Then
cool.
this Friday, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central, there's a debate moderated by J.L. Warren right here on this channel. And there is the little advertising down there. And
Hey,
the
good.
people debating are Leo and David Paulman. Then this Sunday, okay, actually, you know what? Next Wednesday, before I move on, so let's wait, is it next Wednesday? No, the Wednesday after. April 8th. Drew Becky's new show called Life After Faith. And the very first guest is going to be Candace Gorham. And so they're going to talk about life after faith, right? That's
Cool.
what the title says. So
He's cool.
this-
I like him. Yeah. Good guy.
yeah, I know he was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still listening, but there was like a little cool little trailer that he made, and I think it's on his channel, so people can watch that. This Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, the usual Let's Talk on Skeptic Haven, and it's gonna be Jim Barrows and John Cohen. All right.
Oh,
And lastly, wait. There was one more super chat. I remember. I'm trying to scroll up. Resist Oppression, 199 from Resist Oppression. And he says, or they say, sorry about that. They say, because AJ and Punk, and there's a heart and a hand and a.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. That
Love
one. That one.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to do things. There we go. We're trying to match. Okay. And if the crew could put down here the Patreons and the members and the crew and whatever you need me to read, I will read it. Patreons include Karen Butcher, Logan Fisher, Amanda McLeod, Rion, Dan D. The Bible says what? Sunny Show, and Phil Calderone. Alrighty. YouTube members include Carly Laughlin, Logan Fisher, Cynthia McDonald, Infidel, Angela, Stop the Stupidity, Skeptical Scott, and tons of ice. All right, and then the crew. Here we go. That made the show happen tonight. Bree Badger, Cole, Amber, Michael, and Wes. Woo, good stuff. They made sure that you and I were on the screen and the phone calls were put through the appropriate channels and that we could hear the people. Also, thank you to everybody in the chat and thank you for all the super chats. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Brently, again. Everybody go subscribe to Punk Apostate and Waste to Human if you want. And if you're not subscribed to Skeptic Haven, why? Ask yourself why. And go click the buttons. Leave comments, all the stuff. All right. We'll see everybody next time.
See y'all.
That's our time tonight on Critical Call. To everyone who called in, argued in good faith, and challenged ideas, thank you. This show works because you show up ready to think, to question, and to defend what you believe. If you didn't get through tonight, don't worry. Our lines will be open again next episode at 984-400-5656. So save the number, bring your best argument, and step into the conversation.